Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Hope you're doing great. In today's class, we're going to extend on the discussion that we had on wide Sargasso Sea in previous lecture. So we left on page 107. Um, it is the place where Daniel writes another letter to Edward in order to press him for the meeting. But this time he's quite resonant and uh, the uh, he threatens Edward uh, in order to meet him. If he does not meet him, probably he's going to make a mess at his home. So you can see on page number at the bottom of page 107. Why you don't answer? You don't believe me? Then ask someone else. Everybody in Spanish Town know. Why do you think they bring you to this place? You must be. You must. Sorry. You want me to come to your house and bawl out your business before everybody. You come to me or I come. So this was threatening a letter that was sent by uh, Daniel to Edward in order to uh, compel him to meet him. So Edward was least moved by this letter, but this letter was reinforced by Emily. So Emily is one of the servants there in Antoine's family. She also presses Edward in order to meet Daniel because she thinks that Daniel is a bad guy, so he may make mess of everything um, at home. So we can see that on the next page. Uh, Let me share it with you. Uh, yeah, where you have this Daniel is a bad man. Uh, yes. Last paragraph, page number 109. She shrugged her shoulders. All that too long ago for me. It was easy to see her contempt for long ago. I tell him what you say, master. Then she added, why you don't go and see him? It is much better. Daniel is a bad man, and he will come here and make trouble for you. It is better he don't come. They say one time he was a preacher in Barbados. He talked like a preacher, and he have a brother in Jamaica in Spanish Town. So you see that she is also. It seems that she is equally involved in this plot of defaming Antoinette because how come she know the content of the letter since it is written in the letter that he's pressing upon Edward to visit him. So probably she is also involved in this plot. So we can see through these lines. So another instance that we see that when this man Daniel meets this Edward, he poisons the mind of Edward against Antoinette, and he narrates stories to him that these people are not good to him. So we can see that he also talks of Sandy, one of the cousins, of Antoinette. So you see this paragraph. um Somewhere here, you like my clock. Said Daniel, I work hard to buy it, but it is to please myself. I don't have to please no woman. Buy me this and buy me that. Demons incarnate, in my opinion. Alexander now he can't keep away from them, and in the end, he marry a very fair-colored girl, very respectable family. His son Sandy is like a white man, but before handsome, but more handsome than any white man, and received by many white people, they say. Your wife know. Now this is the poison that he is doing. He is injecting in the mind of Edward. Your wife knows Sandy since long time. Ask her and she tell you, but not everything, I think. He laughed. So it means that he is seeding the suspicion in the mind of Edward. He laughed. Oh no, not everything. I see them when they think nobody see them. I see her when she you going So Edward leaves him because he does not want to listen to the stories of Daniel, because these stories are unbearable, and he thinks that he should not narrate that. So he tries to leave that place. On the next page, you can also see that when he leaves, um, he tries to inject more venom in the mind of Edward. So you can see here somewhere, um, which he says that uh, give my love to your wife, my sister. So it is somewhere. Let me show you where is it. So right. So he tries to inject hatred in the mind of Edward. So for that reason, he tells or narrates so many stories about Antoinette, and those stories are not believable by this Edward. And when he leaves, he calls him Daniel. Calls that he tells that give my love to your wife. So you can see this paragraph here at the top of page number 114 probably. Give my love to your wife, my sister. He called after me venomously. You're not the first to kiss her pretty face, soft skin, pretty color, not yellow like me, but my sister just the same. So you see, he is trying to denigrate Antoinette, and he is associating shame with her so that Edward no longer believes in her, and he turns his face from Antoinette. But Antoinette realizes that something has gone wrong with Edward. So, for that reason, she tries to justify her point. So, when Edward tells him that I had a letter from a man who calls himself Daniel Causeway, you can see on page number 116. She says he has no right to that name. He has no right to that name, she said quickly. His real name, if he has one, is Daniel Boyd. So she thinks that he does not belong to her family. So he is a Boyd, not a Causeway. He hates all white people, but he hates me the most. He tells lies about us, and he is sure that you will believe him and not listen to the other side. So he believes because he is a good persuader. He has a command over his words, so that's why he narrates stories, and this Antoinette has to explain it to everything to Edward. So Edward would not believe what she is saying, because he has developed a kind of suspicion in his mind. So that is one of the reasons, um, that how influential this Daniel is. So at the last lines of page 117, you can see, "You are quite mistaken," she said. "It is not for you and not for me. It has nothing to do with either of us. That is why you are afraid of it, because it is something else. I found that out long ago when I was a child. I loved it because I had nothing else to love. But it is indifferent as the God you will call on." So she calls all the situation, um, because he would not understand the position of intoinate. Um, that's why he says that, "I feel that this place is my enemy and on your side." So she says that you would not understand the place, because she has been living there for quite long, and she knows uh, about that place. So he thinks he does not want to know more about that place, because he's more interested in money, not in the relations. So in this tension, when this tension mounts, she tries to tell Edward the story of her mother. So we already know the story of her mother, what has happened to her when they were in Jamaica, and how people burned their house along with their parrot, and how the mother of Antoinette got mad. What was the reason behind that? So she angrily says, "I will tell you about her, the truth, not lies." So you can see here it is written in this paragraph at the top of this page. "You want to know about my mother? I will tell you about her, the truth, not lies." And then she narrates the story, how they had to go through some hard times. At the bottom of the same page, we have the story of their house burning that we have already read in part one. So she tells the story to uh, Edward. She also tells Edward that is not always, she has not always been gloomy the way he thinks that she is gloomy. She has been cheerful sometimes. So on the next page, you see that when she's over telling her story, and she also tells, "I was never sad in the morning," she said, "and every day was a fresh day for me." Means she was quite human like. "I remember the taste of milk and bread and the sound of the grandfather clock ticking slowly, and the first time I had my hair tied with string because there was no ribbon left and no money to buy any. All the flowers in the world were in our garden." Means everything was so beautiful. "And sometimes when I was thirsty, I licked raindrops from the jasmine leaves after a shower. If I could make you see, if I could make you see, because they destroyed it." Who? Those black people did it. "They destroyed it, and it is only here now." She struck her forehead. "One of the best things we was a curved flight of shallow steps that went down from the glacis to the mounting stone. The handrail was ornamented iron." So you see, she tells that how her life was so beautiful once, but now it has been destroyed, and the responsible people were the native black Afro people living there, because they destroyed their house and their family setup. So had Edward had some sense, he would have understood the dark side of Antoinette, but he was not willing to understand that. So all these stories are stories for him, not the events or circumstances that made Antoinette gloomy, or Antoinette's mother mad. So he was not willing to understand all this episode. So she tells the long story to Edward, and when they have discussed something, she also tells how Pyrie died, how son of her mother died, and how people used to brand her mother as a mad. She wasn't that mad, but she was in grief of her son. But that grief was, not looked seriously by the people, but they branded her bad. And for that reason, her mother lost her senses. And it was the death of her brother that caused her grief. So you see, Pyrie died on this page on the right side. You can see Pyrie died. She went on as if she had not heard me, and my mother hated Mr. Mason. She would not let him go near her or touch her. She said she would kill him. She tried to, I think. Why she is so uh, retaliating this point? The reason being because she kept telling Mr. Mason that there was a danger and she could read that danger every day. But Mr. Mason was so confident and he would not let them go elsewhere. And he uh, did not give weightage to the words of Antoinette's mother. So for that reason, she wanted to kill him. So why? Because he would not listen. And the catastrophe or the tragedy that befell on the family was due to Mr. Mason. So that for that reason, she would not let him go near her or touch her. She said she would kill him. She tried to, I think. So he brought her a house and hired a colored man and woman to look after her. For a while, he was sad, but he often left Jamaica and spent a lot of time in Trinidad. He also forgot her. So he did not have a sense of belonging with her. So he was also after money, so he left her and he did not bother the family. So things move on and both discuss in detail. But somehow or the other, this Edward has decided to brand brand this woman Antoinette as the daughter of infamous woman, and he would call her Bertha. So I want to be best for us. I said so much. So he on the page number you can see here, page number 123 on the screen. Certainly, I will, dear. I will. When she has explained everything, and she says that, of course. But will you come in and say good night to me? Means you will be kind enough to say good night to me, because she was expecting some emotions from him. Certainly, I will, my dear Bertha. He said. So Bertha is the name of her mother. It's quite taunting for her. Not Bertha tonight, she said. I'm not Bertha. Let me be Antoinette. Let me be your wife. Of course, on this of all nights, you must be Bertha, he said. As you wish, she said. As I stepped into her room, I noticed the white powder strewn on the floor. That was the first thing I asked her about the powder. I asked that it was, she said it was to keep cockroaches away. So she is disturbed because she is not given the status of Antoinette, but she is considered Bertha now, which she hates the most. Because the politics of naming, she thinks that it is very important, and the people who know about it, that if somebody names you after someone else, it means that they want to develop, or they want to give an association of that name with you, so that you are considered the same. Mm. So things go on, both tension mounts, and in upcoming pages we see the a flirt Edward does with Emily, and it is in the same room where Antoinette is sleeping. So this is such a disgraceful for a woman that her husband brings in another woman and makes merry with her, and satiates his lust. So Emily, who is the woman, contending woman who shares the emotions of, or shares the bed with Edward. So she knows now Intoinate, this is revealed on Intoinate that Edward is no longer a person who is reliable enough. So she no longer believes in him and she tries to be away from him. So that was agonizing for both because they are mounting the tension that has already taken place. So when Emily, usually Emily would say sorry for Edward in the beginning when she did not have that encounter with Edward. So she used to say sorry to her. But what happens when both fell in flirtatious love with uh, each other? So Emily says that now she equally feels sorry for Antoinette. Why is it so? Because she knows that Edward is not sincere with Antoinette. So Antoinette has now become the object of pity. So she also feels sorry for her because her husband is no longer sincere to her. Okay, after this episode is over, we see that this Edward writes a letter to Fraser's inquiring about Christophine, and they tell that Christophine was a convict in any case, and she was released from jail, and she is a dangerous woman. So if she comes closer to him, he should report to any police officer. So both of them come and um, Antoinette drinks a lot. She starts taking drink because she thinks that she should wipe out the uh, episode of Emily and Edward thoroughly from her mind, but this does not happen, and nothing is resolved between them. So here you can see justice. She talks about that I have heard that word. It is a cold word. I tried it out. She said, speaking in low voice. I wrote it down. I wrote it down several times, and always it looked like a damn cold lie to me. There is no justice. She drank some more rum and went on. She kept on drinking. My mother moved home. You all talk about what justice did she have? So, means she thinks that her mother has not received any justice. She was made mad. She wasn't mad, but circumstances made her mad. What justice did she have? My mother sitting in the rocking chair speaking about dead horses and dead grooms and the black devil kissing her sad mouth like you kissed mine, she said. The room was now unbearably hot. I'll open the window and let the air in, I said. So you see, the tension is mounting with every move. Again, he says, Bertha to Antoinette, but Bertha is not my name. You are trying to make me into someone else, calling me my another name. I know that's Ovia too. Tears streamed from her eyes. So she's being tortured, constantly being tortured by this Edward all the time. So he is unable to understand the pangs and sufferings that she is undergoing. Rather, he is enjoying or he is teasing Antoinette's position. So she also now probably for the first time, or yes, for the first time, she laments or she regrets her marrying that man because she thinks that she should not have married him, and it was and Cora's wish that she should not marry him because he is not a good guy. So she would not believe in him. So later, Christophine in the upcoming pages, Christophine, you know, uses this man Edward for marrying Antoinette just for money, not for anything else. So she is very blunt in telling him that everybody know that you marry her for money and you take it all, and then you want to break her up because you're jealous of her. She's more better than you, she have better blood in her, and she don't care for money. It is nothing for her. So she's a good blood, a better blood. The language is quite substandard because she is not following any structure. Christophine is not following any structure because she is um, a commonplace woman, and she does not have grip on language. So we are not discussing language here, right? So then they take her to some other place. They settle that they would not consider that place grand boy for the living, but they would leave that place at once and they would go somewhere else. So Edward has planned to call her devil or mad. So he has started thinking her a lunatic. Pity in there, none of for me tied to a lunatic for life, a drunken lying lunatic gone her mother's way. It means that he has made his mind to declare her mad. So that madness is reinforced, repeatedly said by Edward in many places, and he also of the view that he's tired of all these people. Here you can see in some, right. So here, see, I was tired of these people. I dislike their laughter and their tears, their flattery and envy, conceit and deceit, and why I hated the place. So basically, he has never accepted, or he has never accepted that place, or enjoyed it for that matter. So it was only her lust for power and money that he was after. So once he received all the money, he uh, does not have anything to do with that lady in Twine or the place where he's living. So he's constantly thinking of going back to England. So finally, he brings Antoinette to England in part three. We are told that Grace Poole is the woman who is going to look after Antoinette. So here we come to know that Grace Poole is of the view that this Edward was a gentleman. Serve this gentleman, you are serving the devil. You never made a greater mistake in your life. I knew him as a boy. I knew him as a young man. He was gentle, generous, brave. His stay in the West Indies, his stay in the West Indies has changed him out of knowledge. He has grey in his hair and misery in his eyes. So you see that she considers something wild in the nature of West Indies. So it was not the fault of Edward, or there wasn't any problem with Edward, but it was West Indies that made him so. So that was the reason. Excuse me. The story in the third part that we have, part three of the pool, where we have the voice of Bertha. Now in Jane Eyre, we don't have the other side of the story, but here we come to know about Bertha's point of view. She also explains that why how people treated her in the um, in that mansion or the place of place of Edward. So she also talks about the politics of naming, how the husband or Edward has started thinking her as Bertha. So she says the naming does matter. Names matter, like when he would not call me Antoinette, and I saw Antoinette drifting out of the window with her scent, her pretty clothes, and her looking glass. See, so when Edward calls her Bertha, Antoinette would fly from the window, she says. Why is it so? Because she would not be lively cheerful if somebody brands her as a mad woman. So she would not react the way she reacts as an Antoinette. So you see at the top of this page that names matter, like when he would not call me Antoinette, and I saw Antoinette drifting out of the window with her scent, her pretty clothes, and her looking glass. So we see that how she is treated. People think her as a ghost in the house. She is considered a ghost. You would see that this page, that when they talk of, then she has a dialogue with Graceful, and she tells of um, one of the, she tells of Richard, who has visited um, Bertha on Antoinette, but she thinks that he was not Richard because he is unable to recognize her. He did not recognize when he came in, said Graceful. He did not recognize you. Probably there might have something happened to Antoinette. Her physical condition is not that good, or probably uh, she is not as healthy as she should be, so he does not recognize her. She tries to attack her, but this is what Graceful tells us, that she tries to attack Richard, but he manages to escape that attack. So finally, she has a dream. In that dream, she sets the house on the fire, but that is a dream. And finally, she tells that Graceful was sitting at the table, but she had heard the scream too, for she said, "What was that?" She got up, came over, and looked at me. I lay still, breathing evenly with my eyes shut. "I must have been dreaming," she said. Then she went back, not to the table, but to her bed. I waited a long time after I heard her snore. Then I got up, took the keys, and unlocked the door. I was outside holding my candle. Now, at last, I know why I was brought here and what I have to do. Means she is quite conscious now. There must have been a drought for the flame flickering, and I thought it was out, but I shielded it with my hand, and it burned up again to light me along the dark passage. So this is the story of Antoinette, or the long stories are story of Antoinette, which is called Bertha by Rochester or Edward. And this part of the story is not has not been mentioned or has not been incorporated by Jane Eyre, or incorporated by Charlotte Bronte in Jane Eyre. So we see that at least we think Bertha as a human being or Antoinette as a human being, and we hold all the circumstances responsible for her downfall and the downfall of her mother in it, Annette. So we don't consider that there was something wild in the nature of West Indies, or it was the hereditary disease that she had, or it was something wrong with the family. But we come to know that there were certain problems, or there were certain circumstances that made Annette mad at the beginning. And of course, those circumstances were not minor um, in their nature, but they were very major because Annette's son was, left at the mercy of those Afro black people, natives, and they burned the house, they set it on the fire, and her parrot was also killed. And she was quite disturbed at the death of her son. And nobody would care her sensitivity, and people would just brand her mad because she would do something abnormal. So she was not uh, given a consolation, rather, she was tortured more. And same thing happened with Antoinette, because Antoinette was you know a common a very basic, if we call it a human being, okay, fine, she is. um, she is also tortured, and she is also brought to the position where she is now, living in an attic. Um, so the circumstances are responsible, or it is not Bertha or Antoinette herself who were responsible for their downfall, but these people, or the indifference of these people, or the attitude of these people made them mad and detached from the society. So this is all that we have discussed, that how wide Sargasso Sea is able to re-narrativized what was depicted, what was shown in um, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and she was able to give life to Bertha Mason, which was a creature or a ghost or a shadow in Jane Eyre. But here we see her as a human being, and she is, made a mad woman by the circumstances and the people around her. Right. So this is how you can write it. Thank you very much for your patience.